Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this weekly ag weather forecast brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. First of all, if I sound a little different today, I'm at an event in Iowa and I left all my professional microphone equipment at home, so I apologize for that, but hopefully you can still hear me pretty well. I've been watching, this is just kind of fun. Since the sun rose this morning, you can see here on our very first day of spring what happens astronomically, and it's right here that I want to tell you a quick story. So today, the sun's rays for the first time in 6 months are now back north of the equator, just barely. The sun also just rose on the North Pole. It won't set there again for another 6 months, and it's set on the South Pole where it won't rise for another 6 months. We will now have more daylight hours than darkness across the northern hemisphere, and we're working our way toward the solstice called the sunstop, where we're going to get the highest sun angles on June 21st. But this just marks the beginning of spring, and spring is a time of overturning, when the atmosphere overturns, and we're about to watch that in a big way. So currently, early this morning, right now in our in our surface wind field, there's a low pressure system that's coming out here, out of parts of southern Colorado into New Mexico, and it's going to ride this front that you see right in through this area. There's actually another weak low in place here, and another one, a little Alberta clipper. They're all connected together, and there's the main warm front. Now, what do we have but a big area of high atmospheric pressure? And that's why the skies are clear, the weather's nice, because all the action's setting up to our west. Now, what's important about this is that it exposed lately, those strong southerly winds, how dry things are. I grabbed this satellite animation from last night from Texas. So we just want to stop and think about where that drought is. Look at the wildfire smoke here, and look at the right here in western Texas, right in the heart of the Cotton Belt. We've got all of the dust running from Lubbock to Amarillo, really rough go of it. In fact, even later on today, that area still is under a red flag warning. But this map tells you what we're expecting to see. We do have flood warning here, which means that this next system must be able to draw on enough moisture that we're going to start to see a big change overall in the pattern going forward. Now, if I just give you the blanket picture here of what the next 7 days look like, we can see that we're going to be returning moisture to a part of the plains that's not seen much. In fact, that's where our drought's gotten worse. We're going to see flooding right back on the lower Mississippi River Valley down here into the Mid-South. And over North and South Carolina, Virginia, we are going to be seeing out of this next system a ½ inch to maybe an inch of total precipitation. But you see, when we think about this, why I got right into the near-term forecast right away is because I'm trying to see if there's anything that's going to eat away at the drought that's been developing in the Central Plains. While we've had relief of our drought over here along the East Coast, it's not the case in the mid part of the country. So here's the latest data. Just released long-range outlook for the month of April. We're looking at precipitation. I'll do temperature at the end, but precipitation first. What you see in this is that the regions that have been dry, like the Central Plains, over to the Southwest and into California, the models are not buying into repeat storm systems just yet. I think they are too dry right here, and I'll explain why in a second. But very wet in the Eastern Corn Belt, Mid-South, Great Lakes, and we're expected to see near normal precipitation in the Carolinas. Now, putting this into some broader context, why is this the forecast? So first of all, when we look back to the beginning of this year, the area that you just saw being forecast wet is the area that's been wet. The area you saw being forecast dry is the area that's been dry. Same thing for California. So what's going on here is that the model's not picking up on what I hope to be a bit of a pattern change in the Pacific. Is it going to endure? Is it going to really beat back the drought in this area? I'm going to get to that question because I think all of that is important for what eventually happens over in the Carolinas. So again, this is year to date, so starting on January 1st until the 20th, where you rank in terms of precipitation. Now, what could be the problem? This could be the problem. The MJO has spent so much time over the Indian Ocean. It got here a while ago, back in January, and it just hasn't left. Every time we think that it's going to pop out and go through phase 4, 5, 6, and 7 and do something like this, it gets to right about phase 4 and collapses. Now, there's a lot of great research out there, peer-reviewed publications that suggests that about 40% of the time, this time of year, when we want to see the MJO move through phase 5 and then get into 6 and 7, it doesn't get there. It fails to accomplish that. And the latest forecast is suggesting the same thing. So this is what I'm going to have to watch. This is the current picture of ocean temperatures. Will this, our La Nina, stop pushing so hard on its nose to keep the MJO here? That's phase 4 or 5. The moment this gives way, we will start to see the MJO pop out over here and change the whole jet stream pattern across North America. Now, since we're talking about La Nina, I want to get to some long range stuff first here, because the La Nina has been a bit of a surprise lately with its resurgence. And here are all of the forecasts. Now look, BOM, that is the Bureau of Meteorology out of Australia. CANSIPS, CAN is Canada. ECMWF, the E is European. JMA, the J is the Japanese. Meteo, this is Meteo France. That's the French's forecast. Next one down here, NOAA, that's NOAA, National Weather Service. UK, Met Office, that is the United Kingdom, and then it's the average. Okay, all these different agencies trying to forecast the same thing. April, they all have La Nina in place. What about May? By the time we get into May and then into June, nearly every major weather forecasting agency peels back the risk of La Nina into, beginning of summer, except NOAA. Into July, NOAA's still the outlier. Into August, where most modeling agencies have predicted neutral conditions, NOAA still has La Nina hanging around. I don't want to talk about that. A great place to see all of NOAA's forecasts is to go to cpc.insep.noaa.gov, right up here, cpc.insep.noaa.gov. And they just released, I want to show you this. Let's look at their 1 month temperature forecast for April. Now notice, they've got us mild, but they've got it drier farther to the south. I think that they are too dry here, okay? What about going out beyond that? What about a 3 month outlook? Now I can agree with this. I've seen a lot of agreement over this. Wetter in the Eastern Corn Belt, near normal for us. Then you get over to the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma, back into the Great Basin, drier. More mild as well. I can also agree with their seasonal drought outlook. It appears that we'll see drought improving here, but not really improving back to the west, unless the La Nina just gives way fast. It just fades really, really fast and goes away. So if you'd like to get an even more in-depth look at these forecasts, click on the interactive button. And when you click on that, you're actually able to walk all around the whole country and see different areas and see different things. You know, what I like to do when I look at this is I like to just take a good sample of, how things are shaping up. And you can select different lead times going out several months into the future to see what the forecasts are. And you can drop a little pin, whatever location you want, and get the projections of what it's going to look like. Do this. Use this tool because June, July, August, let's flip this over from temperature, by the way, to precipitation. You see, they've got near average to above average precipitation here, but drier in the plains. I want you to play around with this tool and use it, especially because of the differences between what the models are showing. I can show you the European model any given time because I have access to it, but you have access to this and you can play around with it whenever you'd like as well. Please make sure you do that because this upcoming spring and summer forecast has got a lot of folks that are, west of the Mississippi River, very concerned about drought expansion. Now, we come back to the other side of this, though. What's going on right now? Well, in the last 7 days, we brought moisture into that drought area, and it's been extremely wet, wiping out the drought in the lower Mississippi River Valley along the Gulf Coast. If you remember that previous system, there was a pocket right here through, let's just zoom in, through parts of South Carolina, North Carolina, where we saw up to 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. Well, the next system's coming out right now, and there is the risk of severe storms today in Texas, tomorrow into southern Louisiana, Mississippi, major risk in this area. And by the time we get to Wednesday, that front slices through us, and we have the risk for severe storms. So let's go take a look at it. We're going to go to the high-res NAM model first, and let's get it up to speed here. So throughout the day today on Monday, getting into Tuesday, high pressure and control over us, but you can see the front slicing through here, delivering that risk of severe storms. Through the evening hours on Tuesday, getting out here to Wednesday, mid-morning, mid-afternoon, that's the time when the front starts to approach our area. All along the way, it dropped a bunch of precip over some dry ground, cut right through the Midwest, where we don't want any more of this in the Eastern Corn Belt. We're going to see that front arrive on our doorstep here toward the middle of the week. To show you that, though, I got to go over to the European model. So we've made it up to about here, Wednesday morning. So Wednesday afternoon and evening, the front slices through. It gives us the risk of strong to severe storms. And behind it, cold weather is going to settle in Thursday into Friday. We could even get some wraparound showers on the back side of this through the end of the week. Now, over the weekend, see this guy right here, this little clipper coming out of Canada? It may slice through and put some snow on the west-facing slopes of the Appalachian Mountains and deliver some weekend precipitation. But that system moves out. And then after that, we see that more is coming in behind it early next week, like next Tuesday into Wednesday, which means the pattern seems to be wanting to stay relatively active. Now, how much precipitation are we talking about? Let's kind of zoom in here on the southeast and add it up. The European model, through Tuesday into Wednesday, it shows you that by Wednesday late morning, that's when it could arrive. West first. By the time that moves all the way through, we're generally looking here at somewhere between 0.2 of an inch and upwards of 0.75 of an inch out of this first system. But the atmosphere is not done with us yet, because as I look out there toward the end of this week and then I look across the open Pacific, this is an unblocked jet stream. And what that means is it's going to continue to push systems through the United States. They look like troughs in blue. So going out to Monday the 28th into Tuesday the 29th, you see the next trough sweeping through here and then another one coming into the northwest. This is what an unblocked flow pattern does. And the results of that is that nearly all of our models are predicting more active weather. I could show you the European or I could show you the GFS. It doesn't matter. You're going to see better moisture for California, better moisture in the plains where we need it, more systems curling through and above average precipitation or near average for us. We need more of it down south though, and that's a place that it's quite dry. So that area is going to get missed by these next few systems. But what I'm trying to tell you is that even though the long range forecast was showing really dry for the plains, there are some systems coming through that could upset that. And there's no risk at this point of drought developing for us as we go from March into the month of April. But that's a time period where we want to get a lot of field work done to get a crop planted. So we need to ask ourselves, is there any frost risk with this? Now, every week I'm going to show you this map until we're out of frost territory. And I've already demonstrated for you the tool I've built that allows you to go through and find your location and see your frost risk. But everywhere in gray here is where we're expecting to see a frost in the next 7 days. What are those temperatures going to do? Well, let's just go take a quick look here. There's Monday's highs, very mild. Tuesday, same thing, high pressure and control. Wednesday, same thing. But the cooler air moves in by Thursday into Friday and Saturday. And then with that reinforcing clipper coming in on the backside, we don't really rebound in temperatures through the weekend. All the heat's west. How long does that last out there? Well, day 5 through 10, more mild conditions west, but we're going to be seeing a cool down here to finish the month of March. It may not be until the beginning of April that we start to go back over toward our warmer time period, and that will get most of the state of North Carolina past its frost risk. So that's the bigger picture on the temperatures as we go forward. A cold finish to March, colder than average, and then mild as we begin the month of April, I think, as we get over here. Maybe a few days into April before we see that. Last thing I want to bring up to speed on is South America. Now you look at this map, and I just want to show you something. Heavy rains are coming into the area that in November, December, January, and part of February we're drought stressed. So we're bringing rains in there. It's been drier in Brazil's northern growing area where the safrinha crop's fully planted. But the dryness you see here only is going to last about 5-6 days this week, and then it's going to go over wet into week 2. You see, this is a 15-day precipitation map. And what I want you to get out of this is all of the damage to the South American crop was done early, and what you see here is overall a favorable forecast going forward to the beginning of April. We'll watch it carefully. If any of that changes, I'll be sure to report it to you in these weekly reports. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again next week. Thank you.